Hi, my name is Rebecca Bartlett, and this is the case study of a good teacher turns bad. Stress at home creates problems at school. What we know. What we know is Crestview Elementary School is one of 3 elementary schools in the district with a faculty of 18 teachers and a media specialist, a counselor, special education teachers, 3 aides. There is a history of collaboration between teachers and pride in student work. The district is located in a rural area. The principal is Jean Wilson. She's a veteran teacher, and she's made very few changes during her first 3 years because attendance was good, test scores were good, and the parents seemed pleased. The teacher, Miss Horton, was a first grade teacher, former teacher of the year, and is a seasoned professional. During the 3rd year of Mrs. Wilson being principal, she noticed that she was becoming more stressed, less friendly, arguing with other teachers, and upset with those who disagreed with her. According to the colleagues, she was having difficulty at home. Her husband moved out, and she was left raising 2 teenage sons on her own. So, as no additional incidents happened during the 3rd year at Crestview Elementary School, Ms. Wilson hopes that there's a resolution over the summer break. Ms. Horton is noticeably absent during the summer. Typically, she had come in and set up her classroom, and she did not do that this year. So Ms. Wilson thinks that it's possible that Ms. Horton has not been able to work through her problem. During the 4th year, the school began in a positive way until the initiation of a new reading program. And the program was supported by Ms. Wilson and her faculty, but not Ms. Horton. And she berated any teachers who did favor it. There was a private conference held, and Ms. Horton was not discouraged. During the first 6 weeks of school, Ms. Wilson was receiving phone calls from parents about Ms. Horton being verbally abusive and screaming, arriving late, refusing to hold parent conferences. Ms. Wilson supported Ms. Horton and saying that she regularly visited the classroom and did not see evidence of this. Ms. Wilson did receive a phone call from the superintendent corroborating those claims. So 4 parents called different board members complaining about her behavior, demanding that their children be reassigned to other first grade teachers. Ms. Wilson did promise to investigate further. Mr. Stafford, a parent of a first grader, Julie, shows up at the school and demands a conference with the principal. He's stating that there's physiological ramifications to how Miss Horton's treating his child. She can't sleep, eat, she's basically being tortured, and that he refuses to let his daughter stay in Miss Horton's class. He's requested conferences and has been denied. Miss Wilson did agree to arrange a parent-teacher meeting between Miss Horton and Mr. Stafford, and she said that she would not make any decisions transferring Julie until after the conference. On the day of the meeting with Mr. Stafford, after he had left, Miss Wilson did visit Miss Horton in her classroom to tell her about the phone calls and letters that she was receiving about Mr. Stafford's visit and to schedule the conference for the next day. Mr. Stafford arrived early the next day for the meeting and was escorted to Miss Horton's room, where he was asked to sit in a first grade sized chair that was too small and uncomfortable. And Miss Horton was not prepared, rummaging through her desk to locate her grade book and examples of Julie's work. This resulted in Mr. Stafford becoming angry. Miss Wilson stated her purpose for the meeting, and when asked his purpose, Mr. Stafford stated that he did want Julie transferred out of Miss Horton's room. And when asked why, he claimed that she upsets the children, screams at them all day, and embarrasses them in front of. He didn't get to finish his statement because he was interrupted with Miss Horton yelling, "You're a liar, those are lies, every one of them." She was red in the face and very angry. Miss Wilson ended the meeting then and told Mr. Stafford that she needed a little more information before she would make a decision about Julie, and asked if she could reach out to him later. Miss Wilson expected an explanation from Miss Horton, but noticed that after this, her behavior she was still very angry. What do we need to know? We need to know that were any of the incidents where Miss Horton's arguing with other teachers documented, and were there consequences? Same thing when Miss Horton was upset when opposed. How did these upset feelings manifest, and was that documented and reported? Were there consequences? When a change was noticed in Miss Horton's behavior, were any steps taken during the start of that fourth school year? If Miss Horton did not support that reading program, but rated teachers that supported it, were these incidents documented and reported? Were there consequences? And after that conference between Miss Horton and Miss Wilson, and she was not discouraged, was her professionalism discussed and consequences that could arrive from lower evaluation scores? Parents were reporting that she was verbally abusive to their children. Is there documentation? And what is the time frame between these complaints and Miss Horton becoming aware of them? Why were the concerns not brought up earlier? Are there any adults in the room who can corroborate or disprove these claims? Have other children been asked about what happens in the classroom? The superintendent reports 4 calls to board members about the children being transferred out, and Ms. Wilson promised to investigate. Was there an investigation done, and what were the results? Parents are reporting that Ms. Horton's arriving late to school and not holding parent conferences, but is there any documentation on this? A login, a time card? And when are these parent conferences being requested? Are they being requested at times that Ms. Horton can't make during the school day, or when she has her own responsibilities with her children? During the conference with Mr. Stafford, was the teacher set up for success? Mr. Stafford arrived early. How early? He was escorted directly to Ms. Horton's room, and if he had showed up at the regular time, she might have been prepared. How much preparation time did she have for this conference about the letters being sent and the accusations being made? And why was the meeting not being held in a space with a proper size furniture for adults? And Ms. Wilson's goal is to restore Mr. Stafford's faith in Ms. Horton, and Mr. Stafford's goal is to have his daughter removed. Why were these goals not discussed prior to the meeting occurring between Ms. Horton and Mr. Stafford? What teacher evaluation rubric is being used, and how does professionalism get evaluated? And what are the consequences in the district for low evaluation scores? The main problem is Ms. Horton acted unbecoming in front of a parent. She's been argumentative with staff and unsupportive of school initiatives, and she's being complained against. There's evidence that her stress is being manifested in inappropriate ways. Things could have prevented this from escalating to the degree it did. So when it was noticed that her well-being was in question, support could have been offered earlier. Calls and complaints about her behavior could have been discussed earlier, and it could have given Ms. Horton an opportunity to know how she was being perceived. The meeting between Mr. Stafford and Ms. Horton should have occurred in a place designed for adults. Ms. Wilson could have been prepared and debriefed for the meeting with Mr. Stafford to know what his intentions were prior to that meeting. And the problem is really much more complex due to not dealing with these issues as they occurred. The proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies for implementation. There are 7 main parts: sending Ms. Horton home for the day, transferring Julie out of Ms. Horton's class, having a discussion with the teacher, answering some of the unknowns to determine what's happening in the classroom, creating an action plan with Ms. Horton, ensuring open communication between staff and parents, providing stress support and preventative measures. So sending Ms. Horton home for the day, I would request that she would take the rest of the day off to compose herself and let her know that I would want a meeting with her the following day. Transferring Julie out of Ms. Horton's class, I would take the necessary steps to initiate the transfer, providing the academic history to the new teacher, asking the teacher to reach out to the parents to introduce themselves and set up appropriate channels of communication, and call the parents to inform them of the change. The reason I would do this is I feel that relationship between Mr. Stafford and Ms. Horton is very damaged, and the idea is the success of both Ms. Horton and Julie. And having Julie still in Ms. Horton's class after that outburst, I think would set up problems down the road. I would have a discussion with the teacher. I would inform her of the place and the scope of the meeting, and prepare for the meeting, looking through the files, documentations, evaluation scores, feedback. I would highlight both her strengths and areas of concern. I would allow her to speak of her concerns, and I would have start the conversation stating about understanding that she's going through something and that I want to do what I can to assist her. I would ensure that we discuss acting professionally, conduct unbecoming with parents and colleagues and students, consequences, and getting support. I would answer the unknowns. Really need to determine what's happening in the classroom. I would have discussions with students. I would have discussions with staff and neighboring teachers to really get a good picture of what's going on. I would create an action plan with Ms. Horton to have her mapping out goals and assessments and creating ongoing reflection and feedback loop to ensure her success. I would ensure open communication between staff and parents. I would assess what's in place currently and initiate a school-wide method that's used by all staff, such as Class Dojo. I would meet with staff to implement these new policies. I would provide stress support, assess what's currently going on, create a method of communication, resources, and services, and provide and encourage workshops, clubs, and outings to help support those in stress or prevent stress the best we can. What is best for the student? So solving the issues based on the success of all students. I would ensure Ms. Horton gets the help she needs. If she's happy and healthy and less stressed, her students will receive better services. I will set up regular check-ins and walkthroughs just to see what's going on in that classroom to ensure that the best education possible is happening. I'd have more transparency in the parent-teacher communication to know what's going on to best service the students. And I would transfer Julie to another classroom. It's definitely best for Julie to be in another classroom, especially after that outburst. What was I thinking, feeling, and valuing? I was thinking about this problem could have been prevented in a few different ways. I was thinking about how to ensure stressors at home can be managed at school and providing resources to stress teachers. I was feeling that I need to act in a way to ensure the mental well-being of those involved with students, parents, and important colleagues, and believing in my staff, restoring good faith in the school community, having honest and open interactions between parents and students and teachers, providing the best educational environment for students. Problems that are still open to further investigation would be the other parents who've requested transfers, how to handle that. Reconciling the wants of individual parents against the decisions that have to be made within the school environment. Not all the students can be transferred out. Sustain improvement and monitoring of Ms. Horton's interactions with colleagues. This would have to be an ongoing, it's not a quick fix. And taking preventative measures for dealing with life stressors. The stressors are an ongoing thing that must constantly be addressed and dealt with. Reflecting on standard 2 by providing evidence of promoting the academic success and personal well-being of every student by enhancing their instructional capacity. So it's all tied together, their personal well-being, their academic success, enhancing their instructional capacity by engaging in data collecting walkthroughs and teacher evaluations, growing and supporting teachers using data from these evaluations and walkthroughs, and creating these feedback loops, providing the best environment for students to learn, and ensuring and monitoring open lines of communication between families and staff, providing resources for dealing with stress for not just the staff, but the students as well. And that's the end of my case study. Thank you so much for watching.